Iris, a half-demon, half-angel, also known as a Nephilim, once brought hope to the paradise during the Ancient Age. Her full name is Iris. This current era, riddled with despair and desperation, has brought upon her second awakening. She has arrived to deliver hope, with her feelings put into her lyrics and songs, and determination in her voice. Though she tends to retain her Nephilim form, she is still quite young within her race. With emotion and other factors, it is possible that her form may lean to either side. When that occurs, she bears a brief change in her appearance. She does not speak of the events that preceded her second awakening. She faces ever forward, perhaps because she is hope incarnate, though no one knows for sure. Or could it be? The future is not what helps people. The future is made with our own hands. Salvation is hypocrisy. If people know they are to be saved, they will simply not try. From the depths of despair, a glimmer of light, the warmth of recovery. As long as we are with hope, we live, we stand tall. What in the world did I just read? While I find most Hololive backstories cheesy, you can at least say there was effort spent making the character's origin story logical and cohesive. This story, however, is a stunning example of when minimal effort is applied. Or is it? We can divide this story in one of two ways, as far as this video is concerned, that is. Correct/incorrect, and acceptable/unacceptable. We shall be focusing on the latter. Or if we were to sort based on the former, around 99% of the story would immediately be discerned as incorrect, and that wouldn't make a very interesting video. But don't worry, I will also be pointing out what is correct and what isn't, in case you're here for a theology lesson. The theological errors found here are, to say the least, many. As for why it is so, we can make an educated guess to find out what is happening here. First and foremost, a misunderstanding of the doctrines found in the Bible. Not much of a surprise there, eh? Secondly, the influence of pop culture. We all know, or should know, that there are numerous references to the Bible found in pop culture. There are even times when you might intend to reference a popular song or movie or whatnot, but in reality, you just reference the Bible. Or thirdly, they just want to write a cool sounding story with the minimal amount of religion needed, while also having the maximum amount of religion possible at the same time. Self-explanatory, right? We will be categorizing things like so. Concepts going into the acceptable bin must be somewhat close to the truth. They might lack a few things, or even be wrong in some parts, but they're close enough to reality where we can just call it good enough. Those that will be categorized as unacceptable are those that are just plain out wrong, or ideas that push the boundaries just a bit too much for my liking. So, with our rules set, let's start breaking down this atrocity. Boy, there's a lot to dissect here already. But let's start at the beginning, like all good stories do. Iris, a half-demon, half-angel. Did you catch it? The text implies that angels can be simultaneously pure and sinful. But the thing is, an angel is the obedient servant of God, doing as God commands him. A demon, on the other hand, is a former angel who rebelled against God and chose to go his own way. Summed up, it can only be an angel or a demon. There is no in-between. This, therefore, is unacceptable. Half demon, half angel, also known as a Nephilim. Don't know how this one has slipped through the cracks, but hey, they got the half demon part right. If we look at what is found in the Bible, it would be more accurate to describe Nephilim as half man, half demon. But the Bible doesn't mention a lot of details concerning the Nephilim aside from how they were made. Angels found women beautiful and had children with them. Those are the Nephilim, and that caused the corruption to spread like wildfire. A little bit too imaginative for accuracy, I say. This one falls into the unacceptable category. Known as Nephilim, once brought hope to the paradise during the ancient age. Aside from the poorly veiled attempt to rename the Garden of Eden to the paradise, this is quite ironic, seeing as the actual Nephilim only helped hasten the spread of evil and bring about the flood. Again, unacceptable. Her full name is Blank Iris. Initially, I was confused about what this was a reference to, but then I remembered two concepts referring to unknowable names. The first being God's name, the second being the white stone given to those who conquer at the end of time. Using our reasoning skill, we can see that this is more in line with the latter rather than the former of these two concepts. Rather presumptuous, but surprisingly acceptable. This current era, riddled with despair and desperation. Nothing incorrect about this one. Acceptable. Has brought upon her second awakening. Talk about Messiah complex, eh? An obvious reference to the second coming of Christ, though. Other than him, there are no other beings with a second awakening, or even a first one. Unacceptable. She has arrived to deliver hope. Same as the previous statement, this is something that is applicable only to Christ. Unacceptable. With her feelings put into her lyrics and songs, and determination in her voice. A standard trope for any show where friendship and love and such are a strong theme. Acceptable. There she tends to retain her Nephilim form. I have never heard of an angel changing forms, so my ignorance could be showing. But I do know that Satan disguises himself as an angel of light to lead people astray. As to if the real Nephilim could shapeshift, I doubt it. Unacceptable. She is still quite young within her race. Well, if you can call being made after the beginning of time young, well then I guess she is young. Regardless of my terrible sarcasm, the point is obvious. As far as we can guess, and I do mean guess, not even an educated one, all angels were created at the beginning of time, and there are no new angels. Unacceptable. With emotion. Well, while not a thought that is commonly pondered, angels and demons have emotions, sort of. We know that Satan hates God and wants to serve him. He takes pleasure when people despair and reject God, and in general taking pleasure where there is suffering. As for angels, they too can feel emotions, just limited to ones that aren't sinful, otherwise they'd be demons. It is acceptable. And other factors. My guess for this other factor spoken of here is some good old-fashioned demonic influence. But as it is unclear what exactly we're talking about, I'll refrain from categorizing this as either acceptable or unacceptable. Therefore, the final answer is undecided. It could go in either direction though. It is possible that her form may lean to either side. Again, as I have said earlier, as far as I know, there is no mention of any being that can change his shape, i.e. shapeshift. Same decision as the other one, unacceptable. When that occurs, she bears a brief change in her appearance. As stated in my previous comments, no known being can shapeshift or change forms like how it is being described here. Unacceptable. She does not speak of the events that preceded her second awakening. This is probably the vaguest statement in here concerning her origin story. I assume it was done so on purpose though. I guess that this is one of your standard anime character tropes rather than any biblical reference. Aside from the awakening part, that is. I've already commented on the second awakening thing, so I repeat, as I stated earlier, unacceptable. Perhaps because she is hope incarnate. There it is, that Messiah complex. In the Bible, we find that when referring to what is hope, where to find it, and more importantly, who is hope, most of the time we find that the prophets, disciples, and others are referring to Jesus, or God. Same being though, we can find hope explicitly mentioned in these verses. Proverbs 23:18. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Isaiah 40:31. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Romans 8:24-25. For in this hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. Revelation 21:4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. That is not to say that these are the only places where hope is mentioned by name, nor that other verses do not speak of hope in the abstract. It would be more accurate to say that the entire Bible is a book of hope. Since she is not Jesus, it is therefore unacceptable. The future is not what helps people, the future is made with our own hands. I think I get the sentiment behind this phrase, that sentiment being, help yourself, don't expect to be helped. While its phrasing is different, the quote essentially had the same message, with one fatal error, the second half. The future is made with our own hands. A common mistake, but a simple one. It presumes that we can do good works by ourselves without the help of God. However, the truth is that all good works shall be primarily attributed to God and only secondly to us. Just a slight difference in meaning, but unfortunately one that has led to some heretical doctrines, ultimately unacceptable. Salvation is hypocrisy. Utterly heretical, simply unacceptable. If people know they are to be saved, they will simply not try. Somehow, for some reason, it's a somewhat close description of a real-life heresy. Go figure. The heretical doctrine I'm referring to is known as the Prosperity Gospel, formerly the Word of Faith movement. It promises you health, it promises you wealth, you don't have to change from your sinful ways, you can speak reality into existence, and it is entirely heretical. Many pastors have already done a detailed examination of the Prosperity Gospel message and its blasphemy, so this statement, in a roundabout way, sort of, is surprisingly acceptable. From the depths of despair, a glimmer of light, the warmth of recovery. This one echoes a grain of truth, yet it lacks a key component, that component being Jesus of Nazareth. We are born dead in iniquity and sin, shrouded in darkness, living amongst the dead. And here, the light of the world, that whosoever follows him abandons the path of darkness and death, and instead, he now has life. Because it reflects an actual doctrine, it is acceptable. As long as we are with hope, we live, we stand tall. This one checks out. The only thing that I would specify within this statement is to correlate hope with Jesus. However, if we examine the Bible out of faith, hope, and love, love is the most important one. Faith without love makes your efforts negligible. Hope without love is not hope at all. But all of these are good things to have, chief amongst them being love, but even so, it is acceptable. With this we have a final score of 13 unacceptable claims, one that could go in either direction, and only 7 that are acceptable. A rather heretical piece of literature, with a failing grade of 33.3%. Although if this were to be taken seriously, it would look more so like this. One correct doctrine, with all others ranging from stupid to heresy, but nonetheless blasphemous. As was said in the beginning, I'm not here to give commentary on Iris as a person or anything that she has done. Nor am I making this as a petition to change her backstory or cause any drama. I like Hololive and their talents. I'm just making this video because I find her backstory so erroneous to the point of hilarity, as well as me just having some fun ranting about a subject that interests me, which falls within my area of expertise. No hard feelings, right guys? This is my first time ever writing for and editing an essay-style video, so feel free to give advice in the comments. All verses and references will be in the description, and I suggest you read the entire section that the verse was in if you were confused by any of them. If I made any theological errors, since this video is based upon my limited knowledge, feel free to correct me regarding the doctrines of scripture in the comments. Sincerely, LGD.